rapid. All three things dealing damage right now. Not allowing them in. Another team on top of Mega City, and this is where the time is going to run out for Wavy Jacob. He gets dropped. Notch, a few seconds later, meets that same demise. And it just goes to show that it doesn't matter what happens in those early games. If you get some eliminations, if it's off spawn, it's just simply not enough damage. This lobby is kind of stacked. A lot of these players know exactly how they're getting surged, and they're doing it game after game after game. Even if it's not a ton, they're doing just enough to keep themselves above that threshold so they don't have to worry about it.
That's what I said. It's all about strategy. Early to mid-game is a game of strats. How much preparation did you put in? Because if you didn't, it's going to show. Yam's on Rise now in the fight here. This is one that they actually need to take. They have to take this. Yeah, it's just, oh, there goes the surge. That means the difference between them and the other teams. It was 5 points and then 118 below. So there it is. Gets right on in, finds everything they need. That's at least 300 worth of damage, but Yamzu gets knocked here. Wasn't worth it. We need to get the quick follow-up. Heal up. Loses Yamzu in the process. This is bad for being in second place.
Yeah, this is tough. If Skyrazor can go ahead and capture this opportunity, he knows he lost his teammate into Fireball. Quickly picked up that reboot card. Now the choice is here, depending on how confident he feels with those heals. As Rise has some in his back pocket, just trying to pop that med kit, give himself a fighting chance. He doesn't have Yamzo's reboot card just yet.
Oh, med kit. Yeah. Heals. Med miss. Oh, okay.
What a find.
It's great.
Goes to show that this is why a lot of teams stagger themselves behind and go ahead and re-loots a lot of those vaults.
Man, he's happy with that. He's like, you know what? I'm cool. I got plenty of heals. I'm going to rift out of here.
They're rifting together, though.
I was going to say, he does have Sire on his tail, though.
Come over here. Hip to hip. There's even a couple teams in Mega City right now.
I was going to say, there's no shot they're going to the same healing reboot spot, right?
Yeah, POW in zone as well. A little too close for comfort here. Almost beelining him. Scissor doing what he can. I'm wondering even if he has Yamzu's
What's the play?
reboot card. Yeah, what is exactly the play for Rise? And right now it does look like he's going to try to either use those zip lines to try to get across, or to continue to build to the top to where he can kind of glide his way in towards zone. And that way he doesn't have to go down the mountain, then back up the mountain into the zone to where you see a lot of the teams positioned on the edge.
He is going to be a floating target, so we'll see how that ends up playing out.
Good luck to him.
On the other side, Acorn and Cold making that ground rotate here, saying, nope, we're not trying to do any kind of that floating business. We're moving old school style here, straight up the mountain, right around the outskirts, keeping it textbook.
There, G, just a couple peak shots. I feel like the slow bursts with the MK Alpha, which means the possibility of the scope salvo augment. You sacrifice the rate of fire as Rise and Yamso go down. That's a big fall.
Before the big placement as well.
Yeah, before any placement at all. They fall from grace. But for them, they've also been known as a second day team. So hopefully they can kind of build up the confidence, have that mental toughness, so that way they have the bounce back opportunity as Clix and Epic will. Once again, finding a little bit of those struggles, and that's feel like that's been the thing for Clix and Epicwell almost all season long. No matter how well they've been performing, it's the storm surge. They've been struggling to figure out consistency where they're going to get that surge from.
Meanwhile, Rokane showing us exactly how he's going to get his tags. Mammoth, Pistol, and big tags here. Look at the points. 185 for Yamzone Rise when he falls. Booga and Threats are right on the heels at 175. And the competition is extremely close there from 2nd through 5th. So we know there's going to be some shakeups up at the top. That big fall. There's just one more game for Yamzone Rise here before the day concludes, before they have to hit the drawing board. So no room now to make any more errors if you want to stay inside that top 10 comfortably or ride to the grands, ride to the championship.
342. No worries for them. Just don't need to go down making any risky peaks. Booga and Threats positioned so close by. They've been so flexible very adaptive in their game plan up until this point.
Am still out. They haven't found it.
Paper and Muzz, I just saw one of them down moments ago. And the thing that makes this zone hard, you see that split right in the middle between the two mountains. The river flows right between, and that means no one's going to be positioned on that water, which makes the edge of the zone that much more stacked.
Looking like a red versus blue map right here. Now time to go north, though. Naughty Nets off to the left side there. All right, no one's nearby other than the guys that have that western position. That's definitely a closer rotate for them.
Yeah, the only thing that's tough for this team is even though there's less people on this side of the zone, the right side overall, they still have to cross over that water. And Ritual, they're trying to plan ahead, figure out how are we going to make this leap over the river? How are we going to make it with as least congestion, very little trouble?
Look at this. Bolted Thoric say, hey, let's go to the dead side. Let's try that. They're actually doing the opposite of what we would have thought. They're going all the way around here. But I think, yeah, I was going to say reality's going to set in. That's not going to give them runway behind the island. They're going to have to go right through it. And it ends up working? Question mark? I think it's good.
Yeah, this could be good because while the players in front of them, they're going to have to use their mats. They're going to have to use their resource. They can just climb on top as Cold goes down. Acorn is at least getting a huge trade. Using the Mammoth toe tag Zookies. A great play by Acorn once again, showing how tough he actually is as a player. Even behind a slurp, hesitating momentarily, trying to figure out what it is going to be, but doesn't have time to backtrack. He knows he has to go to the zone, and the longer he waits, the harder it's going to be for him to find any bit of safety because all the teams are already going to beat him there.
And he just gets that last little bit of sprint burst just in time to push him inside here. He will have to stop and heal again for just a moment, but it's okay. He's got plenty of time here. He will be able to make it. Acorn, again, left by himself, but he's fighting for it. Baka and Pars find the high ground. The rotates work out for them. Booga finds Larson, so this is all in exchange for threats as the save comes through. Big heals here as well. Are they going to burn through it? Let's find out.
Already one slurp is popped on threats. All he needs is time. Kind of let it set in.
Look at this.
Booga just breaking through all that loot that they just found.
The mats don't look too good here.
Yeah. And the thing is about that loot, they already have a good loadout, so you see them not picking up much. They're looking exactly for what you just said. The mats, the resources, very, very minimal. All they kind of got was a little bit of siphon mats, which isn't much, but for them, it's something that they can use. Bak and Pars, they have the high ground. Reet and Ritual, they have the front of that low ground. They're trying to make that job and their journey easy because they know it is going to continue to move up the mountain.
Let's watch it. Pars, Baka starting to cut across here. 3 Elims, high ground, but coming through the zone to connect. A lot of damage taken there. Meanwhile, Acorn on the low ground here. 1 material left. Okay, time to get inside these enemy builds. That's a tarp. Jackson's in a fight here. The timing didn't look too good. He sees them looking backwards, has to back out there. Smart play, great positioning here, but it's all enemies everywhere, all layers. He continues to shift and fight. How's he still up right now?
He's daring anybody to challenge him, but finally had it. As Booga and Threats seemingly like they've stolen away the high ground from Bak and Pars. Perfect timing for that one to come to fruition. Agers gets knocked into the feed. If Kanata is still alive, they'll keep the consistency streak alive. It's that one has just been cursed. It wasn't my fault, but at least they get themselves another top 15.
Still a great game. Falling in 11 is nothing to overlook, especially when you're in the lead like this. So they're just going right now. Cooper's going to find Sphinx. Huge points there. A top 10 as well. Solidified now. Enpen and Bila are in the mix here. This is their chance to start rocking their way up the standings. Booga, Threats looking to close it up as well. Nicely done there, but the trade comes through, and Pars finishes things up. Meanwhile, Threats here now.
It just wasn't enough for them. They wanted to finish the job down below. Threat sees a couple players moving nearby, but he has to be very, very careful the choice he takes, because as soon as he makes the decision, he gets taken down overall. Batman Booga feeling the pressure as a solo. He lost Rapid not too long ago, but there is a couple other solos left in the lobby as well, so he isn't the only one feeling this pressure.
Richard and Reet have the high ground here. This is all top 10 teams right now. Everyone really fighting for it. That's actually perfect if you're inside the upper bracket here. You really want to float, right? Rise that tide. See it. Nasa from the low ground getting a little bit of pressure up top. That could be a big disruption. Not sure what the material count situation is looking like for Reed here, but probably dire. They're getting really close here. Just above the layer right now, trying to suffocate them out here on the low ground. Everyone ends up committing here. They say, hey, let's go for it. There's a lot of points here. NPen now by himself.
There's no heals. There's no HP. All he has is shield, which isn't really going to do him justice here in the end game. He finally makes his way in towards zone. With the pressure of the low ground, they're trying to drop him into the palm of the hands and only has 4 HP left. The only solo left into our top 3 against Jackson J, TK, and Reet and Ritual, who have been seemingly the kings on top of the mountain for so long.
Finally now, Jackson and Morales, or TK here, finally found themselves a little something to work with. But it's 3 elims and a second so far. They will have to go out to the zone to go and run up. Reet and Ritual don't have material, so they're just working off the land here. This could be everything, but the great tag there onto Jackson to take him out. They don't see where TK is. He's actually full confused, and finally they spot him out. Reet falls first. Ritual comes through, though. He doesn't choke out and wins the game.
Yeah, looking very, very scary there for a split second, but then I realized Ritual is him, especially the way he has been playing lately. Finally, with a big victory royale here in the finals, he's living up to that reputation.
It's really good to see Reet, who's, of course, amassed up so many W's under his belt, pick up Rituals and give him a shot to prove himself. And take a look here. Ritual so graciously tries to support Reet in the moment there, but instead says, hell, I'll go ahead and win this one out. And they take game number 5. Well played for the boys here to go ahead and close that one up.
Yeah, and it's only a wonder who is on the top of the leaderboard, who is on the bottom of the leaderboard, and who needs a phenomenal Game 6. I'm going to go through it for one last time to see who is positioned where on the leaderboard.
Well, Kelly here is a fan. She said Reet at the very start of the show. I want to see them perform well. I'd love to see them go to global championships. I'd even love to see them walk away with the Active Champions. And right now, after this game, Kelly, is this enough? Are you satisfied?
I'm pretty happy right now. And you heard MDF said that Reet is an incredibly accomplished player, but we knew him as this kind of uncontrollable W key player. And I don't know if it's due to Queasy's coaching or if just Reet has kind of evolved as a player over the years, but he is playing so reserved compared to what we used to see.
Well, and the funny thing is, I asked Ritual, like, what is going to be the biggest challenge for him today? And he said not trying to W key everybody. So it's not just Reet, it is both the players in the duo trying to restrain themselves. So it could be the coaching, it could be that they've realized how to play the game to be successful long term, because if you're just jumping in boxes, eventually someone's going to clap back too hard.
And I think a part of their success was watching when to take high ground in this game. We saw Baka and Paris take it pretty early on, and then you turn around, you look back around zone 10, and there is Reet and Ritual. They got really lucky because they were getting low on builds, but luckily that zone was pulling back over builds already there. And then of course they had that high hill at the very end, so even though that second place team was on the low ground, it did a pretty good job. It came down to a 1v1. It just eventually worked for the way for Ritual and Reet.
Yeah, and we've seen them kind of contest height in previous games so far, right? So they have a clear agenda here. Let's contest height. Let's make sure that this isn't free, or let's take it for ourselves. Something I want to see here is the standings. Only one game left here to go on day number 1 of Grand Finals. This will dictate how we look going into tomorrow's 6 games. Agers and Kanata, in case you just tuned in, you missed out. Let me see, 346, that seems a lot higher than 225. Yes, they still have this massive over 100-point lead of everyone else, but falling in that last game in an 11th place, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it does give everyone else just that tiny little bit of leeway to say, okay, we're going to try and catch up.
It's still early. We have so many games to be played, and we're starting to see teams shoot up the leaderboard. I mean, +6 for Baka and Pars. That's a team I expected to do well. Peterbot Larson shooting up the leaderboard. Byla, NPen, 12 spots. Ritual, Reet up 8. So every team making their moves late today.
And I think another team we expected to do well was Booga and Threats. And obviously, being in second place right now, they're doing just that. And I think a part of that is just the knowledge that both of these players have. And there's not too many times that we see in game a player go down so late in the game like what we just did in game 5 and still be able to bring them up, realizing that there's still a situation right here that we can bring up our player and have that opportunity like we're seeing right now. And actually Booga ended up going down a little bit later, and Threats was able to hold that solo for just a little bit, showing that how opportunistic this duo is.
And the amazing thing about Booga and Threats is Booga did this way earlier on when he won a championship with Miro. They had a terrible weekly qualifiers, didn't really play well in the Cash Cups, and then all of a sudden, it's championship times. It's time to put on your boots and walk through this mud and take a championship. They got a lot of work to do, but I mean, it's Booga. Like, that man's legacy is unbelievable, and he's proving once again why you can never doubt him.
And this is kind of why we talk about these day 1, day 2 teams, right? Some teams, they come out on day 1, they're super strong, but kind of fall short day 2. And then the same can be said about the other side. The question for us in this last game will be, well, are Aegis and Kanata a day 1 and a day 2 team? More food for thought as we kind of continue to look at our standings here. You did mention Booga and Threads. I want to kind of come back to the couple teams you mentioned, SPG, in 5th place. Byla and NPen, also players looking to secure themselves a spot in the Global Championships. I mean, NPen as well. I mean, you've talked to him, we've talked to him. This is someone that is really hungry to go to Globals, but would also love to see an FNCS title.
Yeah, I was able to film week 1 with him and go find some content and kind of make a little piece, but they didn't do well. They went down off spawn because of Booga and Threats coming over and cleaning up the contest. But NPen's confident. He's a player that believes in himself, switching duos very late before weekly qualifiers. But he's like, I believe in myself as an IGL. As long as I get a certain quality player, it doesn't matter who I play with. Top 10, that's in the bag.
And the mentality is such an important factor in the competition. And we see Violet and NPen jumping up 12 placements here. Usually you tend to see a snowball by game 5 where teams tend to do a little bit worse and worse as the game goes on. But that is not the case for Violet and NPen.
Absolutely. Okay, so 1 game left to go. What I want to see is the top 20. Remember, there's already 5 duos that have qualified for the Global Championships. If they end in this top 10, that means we then move down the leaderboard based on how many of them end up in that top 10. Here is 11th through 20th. Just take a look at a handful of these names, right? Cooper and Miro, for example, in 14th place, they already have their spot. So if these guys, after next game or even after tomorrow, could end in that top 10, top 12, we're still looking down that leaderboard.
I mean, we also have Poyo and Sphinx, and on this we have Edgy and Dukes, although his name is Trey now. And a lot of these teams in the top 20 just showcasing why they've already qualified to Globals. But again, we don't really know how day 2 is going to pan out, so we don't know if it's going to be top 10, top 12, or even top 15.
I do expect at least 3 teams that have already qualified to finish within top 10 or maybe like 11, 12. You know, they push it down just a little more. The interesting thing is every point these teams get is stealing away points from everybody else, and it's honestly beneficial for the teams that are close.
Dude, this is absolutely terrifying. I don't even know how this is going to go. We got 1 game left here to go on NA, and then tomorrow another 6, and then that's it.
I do want to say, we keep talking about top 10 and everything, but also these players that have already qualified still want to get top because that's more money coming out of Major 3.
For sure, and an Axe of Champions. Why not? I mean, the 2-for-1, 3-for-1 special, whatever that math. I'm not good at math. Maybe it's the math one. Final game here. What would you guys love to see coming into this game?
I want to see Booga and Threats win it. Get some points, get close enough to make day 2 really interesting.
I want to see Reet and Ritual on top.
There you go. Kelly she's good. She's good. I like this as well. Okay, 1 game left to go. This is game number 6 of day 1 of Grand Finals. Now it is more important than ever for these duos to climb that leaderboard and try and find themselves in that top 10. Let's see how this all comes to a conclusion. This is game number 6.
That's right. Time flies when you're having fun. And just like that, we're already gearing up for the last game of day 1 here. And to Kelly's point, yes, Reet and Ritual do have a chance right now to go ahead and jump up.
Yep, but I'm going to go ahead and throw it on in. Who do I want to see have a good game? Well, I want to continue to see the Kanata and Aegis show. And luckily, we don't have to wait long. But Monster, as we get into this last game of the day, go ahead. Who's Monster's pick? Who do you want to see have a phenomenal last showing?
Well, I need Pamso and Fatch to definitely figure it out right now because Acorn and Cold are coming in a little too quick here from that southern side. So can they make another adjustment? That's a lot to ask of a team that's already tweaked their draw spot twice now in the same 6-game run. But again, that leads me into that conversation. Acorn and Cold are moving in the right direction. We said it. They're about due for a big game turnaround here too. So far, though, looking at the zones, I feel like Miro and Coop have gotten a lot of zone favor, which has helped them stay inside that top 10. So who really knows right now?
Yeah, once again, the split drop, but Virgo and Broken are getting increasingly more confident each and every game, and you're seeing why. Virgo, with very little loot, all he needed was his drop spot, and that one was down to perfection as he cleans up not one, but both of those players. And you see an interesting split drop. If Broken and Virgo spot this one out, Pamsu and Fatch on two different sides of the farm, that is an easy elimination for them the way they've been playing so far. Ooh, I might have cursed them.
They do an excellent job here finding Virgo, but again, those same southern shots. Again, I just was hoping that Thatch or Pam would have adjusted for the tags that come in from the outskirts, but getting a little too complacent here. Either way, they do get themselves still the knock here. A little revenge, if you will.
Acorn and Cold yet again. Just being the final straw of annoyance to Thatch and Pam still. Almost all day long, just sending their shots, getting their search. And you can see they have two different angles as well, so almost nowhere really to hide at. See on over towards the Citadel. Knifer and Snacky yet again.
I knew it. I knew it.
Well,
And Tanksum House comes down. He didn't take no damage. He did it the right way. Oh, and then he gets the pickup and turns it back around.
see what had happened was,
Yikes.
that's how it started with Knifer talking to Snacky. See what had happened was, and then that's kind of where it ended as well, because he went down to fall damage.
You don't even explain it.
Looking like Myth out here.
That's exactly what happens. Unfortunate.
Ooh, another. Is this a drop spot switch up? Because typically they claim the mountain just outside of the gas station that's north of Kenjutsu's Crossing. Everybody this game really changing things up. Agers and Ganada even becoming increasingly more split so they can cover more ground, get more loot. Muzz and Paper, this is where they've been landing, but they have a new team contesting them. That's Penta and Teeks. They were over towards the Lonely Lab side of the map.
Now this is a cool fight for Muzz and Paper, because if they pick these points up, I was gonna say this pushes them right inside that top 10. That's how close things are, and we talked about it. They want to stay within that conversation of the bubble top 15. You really don't want to fall too far from there, because then your chances at globals really just run away from you.
Yeah, and you still have that last chance major next weekend, but thing about qualifying through the grand finals here in Major 3 is you start at the upper side of things versus lower in that last chance major, as Blake and Macwood go down to 20 yet again. Things just aren't shaking up to be their day, but we talk about it being a 2-day competition, and there's always time to rise up the ranks with 6 games on the day tomorrow. But if you are still in the lobby, you need to make use of this opportunity you're given as Penta tries to go in, takes so much damage before backing off yet again. Teeks trying to play a game of peekaboo, but Mud Hut Boy seeming like the ultimate defender right now.
I like what he did, the pre-fire right there. You just gotta respect it. You can see the practice really coming into play, but shots come in from the distance. That was a completely different team. That is the opening of a Mammoth pistol.
It's Muzz and Paper again.
Big damage.
Kind of the team that you were talking about yourself. Returning to the scene of the crime, just trying to go ahead and get their surge. Because they were the ones initially in the fight. They disengaged and now turn the tables on its side. Now they have the luxury to kind of do exactly what they want. Rotate where they want to be, depending on if they want to go west or east. And I think right now they're going to choose towards that west side. As Penta takes even more damage. Force backed up more and more and more. And the down's finally going to come through by Mud Hut Boy, leaving Teeks by his lonesome to try to survive this.
Muzz and Paper were still thinking about it too. Kind of wish they stood around to try to finish this thing up. Not anymore. The advantage is swung all the way. Pickup's gonna come through. Now let's look at Casker here, sneaking up on what's happening here.
Like
Oh, the double, left and right.
multiple angles being taken. Casker's doing a good job of watching out and dealing damage onto Chris. Almost instantly, Revise gets the knockdown and the elimination onto Mud Hut Boy. So now Chris is just feeling the pressure of a solo in a duo's world, and once again hounding and surrounding from multiple angles. Casker's not letting up off the gas, neither is Revise. But now he has to hit the brakes just a little bit. He did take a huge amount of damage.
Meanwhile, all the while, I was looking at the the cursors of Muzz and Paper there. They just continuously looking back. I'm sure they're regretting it now, just thinking about it like, there's still a team fight in there, a new team now. We probably could have had all that, but it is what it is. Here we are, big tags coming out. Casca revives and they're finishing up Chris. Big knock there. Look, they're again saying, dude, there's still shots happening? Like, what is this? So Muzz and Paper are so curious of what all unfolded here, but of course they read the feed. They know it's Casker. They know it's revised. It's a fresh team here. Oyo, Sphinx on the other side right now, inside the compound here, getting busy. Looking for the box fight here. This is a fight that's gone on for quite some time. You can just tell because he doesn't have many shotgun bullets nor builds. Really running through the resources here. What we like to call burning the candle on both ends.
And the longer it takes, the harder it gets. Increasingly so by every second, especially when the north side of the map, those teams begin to rotate in. They're going to see this party as a chance to get Surge of their own. Koyo's not letting up off the gas. He wants to continue to finish off and clean up that damage he was already dealing. But it's not an easy one. Noxy seeming like a slippery competitor, not letting him in his sights. And as soon as he does, he fires back a haymaker, knocking down both shield and HP off Poyo.
I'll tell you, Noxy looking razor sharp right now in the back half of the tournament. Again, this is a 2-day competition. Today, right now, is the last game that we'll play for this evening. But tomorrow, we get to gear back up and run another 6.
And that's why we keep talking about the importance of not necessarily, you don't have to be in first, but giving yourself enough of a cushion to be inside of the bubble so you can get your global championship spot. That way you don't have to fight through that last chance major, because that one is going to be a grueling one. But it's business as usual for both Bugha and Threats. They get the zone again towards the south side. But for now, we'll figure out in a few seconds which way it does pull, but it's equal distance between both the west and the eastern portion of the map.
Threats and Bugha here. So far, so good. Things are looking super scary after game 1. Had they not dropped that one, they'd be pretty close on the heels of Kanata and Agers. But here we are, a near 150-point gap starting to build between the teams. Meanwhile, it's the first zone that's actually come this way as well. Is that going to affect their strategy? Is that going to affect the storm surge? Are they going to stay south or go north instead into the congestion? This is going to be a game worth studying. Meanwhile, Bryce lines one up but gets one in return. That's what happens.
Showcasing the duality of the Mammoth. If you give, you must be expected to receive at any turn. Bryce and Chubbs, a little bit of a fall from how the first half of their day has been going, but a team that has been able to show resilience as well at a moment's notice. Peterbot and Larson, both of these players had played at last year's FNCS Invitational. They've tasted that international stage, and they're hungry to return. And as of now, they're in the position in that top 10 to qualify.
That's right. You have a chance here to do it all. Let's take a look here. We're going to be capturing this point. See what will come out of it. Of course, upgrades across the board. Trashy on the other side. Bucky and Oki is trying to line up the pinch here from the 2 angles so far. Been pretty decent, but terrain not too favorable here to battle on, so might be looking to get up for a second there. Okus is definitely a scary one. Oh, but loses the wall to Trashy. Still quick enough. Putting back off there, and there it is. It's all for the spoils here. That legendary Slurp Juice going to the hands of Trashy. Gets the second one as well.
That find on the Slurp Juice could be the difference between them winning or losing this fight. And he goes right back down to take the rest away before trying to reunite with Clarity as Bugha takes down Fatch. Whatever adjustment they made on the side of Pamstu and Fatch just wasn't enough to kind of continue their run. As you get to see it, just kind of cornered. 2 different angles. Bugha and Threats just enter into the box. They take him down.
What do you do?
And before he even goes down, you see Pamstu just running away. He said, sorry, dude, I gotta go. Peace.
That's right. You give and you take there. GG's. Tried his best. What can you do?
Just looking at that leaderboard right now, and it's just daunting. Kanata and Agers, just all the way on top. Bugha and Threats, increasingly better. 10-point lead over Reet and Ritual. Then Acorn and Cold not nearby. So everyone outside of just Kanata and Agers is like jam-packed on that leaderboard, and they can surpass each other at any moment.
There's a lot going on right now. Even Boyo here getting mixy with it. Finds Noxie and D roller, side angle. That was his wall, son. Takes him out. Making it look easy. Fast forward to the other side and finishes him off. That's how quickly things changed on that side of the map. This is the opposite corner. This is the northern portion. Boyo and Sphinx, this story is important. They're in 12th currently overall. This is a team that's on the cusp of going to the global championships. There's tons of spots. They're already in there, so they can be taking a position away from another if they jump on in.
And just interesting because I feel like before FNCS Major 2, you would have said, yo, Boyo has a chance to qualify. People would have been like, who? Who's that? And they rightfully did so because Booga at one point was teaming with Boyo. And people are just wondering why. They split up, they go their separate ways, and Poyo's the one who actually punches his ticket to the global championship. Meanwhile, Booga is still fighting for it. But a huge change up right here. Cold is now alive, gonna clutch up. Typically on the day, we've seen a lot of Acorn forced to clutch up.
That is right. Acorn's been alive, but Acorn was also in the end game. This is a bit of a different for them to fall so early. It's definitely a different conversation. Look at this. Agers and Kanata have a chance right now to fight for this rift spot, but Okus and Bucky are the first ones to get here. This is kind of what they were known to do in lead up. So how is it that they're just finally getting one? It makes you wonder.
This is brave. I don't see Bucky anywhere in sight. Okus literally contested by himself. Oh my, a huge amount of damage onto Aviv. Continuously trying to back him up. The rifts continue, so the threat of more and more players trying to join the party is going to be there, and that's exactly it. You hear some of those gliders open up. So where's my invitation? See players below. Rift Island on the mini-map as well, surrounding. Those are third-party potentials. The higher you're built up on that mountain.
Mammoth Pistol is the opening weapon of choice here, and Okus says, all right, yep, I'm going to get up out of here. It's not looking too hot here. Meanwhile, Yamzo and Rise in the low ground don't even want to chance it. They don't have the luxury to chance it. They can't make a mistake right now. They've come too far. They've already slipped outside that top 3 spot after that last game falling. Too early, too soon. Bryson Chubb's in the distance there, a top 10 team rotating to the bubble side of the zone. This would be a pretty easy rotate for them as everyone up top is hyper-focused. They're trying to situate, they're trying to get their mats together.
Reet and Ritual. Kelly's a big fan. I'm a big fan, especially Reet coming from NA West. And I hope Vivid is a big fan because he is going to break down what they're doing and how well it's going for him.
Ritual and Ree, a duo that loves that Rift Island, but their early game, their POI, it's going to be Creaky Compound. Of course, landing here, though, you're pretty much in Death Valley. I mean, look at these angles that they have to worry about. There's so many elevated mountains around them. Lucky enough for them, though, the biome does a great job of providing them with the movement necessary to get the heck out of Dodge. That mud is going to be good for them to rotate towards one of those elevated positions to make sure that they are going to be safe throughout these early games. And it's positions like this that have allowed them to get to 3rd place today because early Storm Surge comes in, but it's also a great position for them to go ahead and get some of those Rift Island contests. Of course, they've gone ahead and captured it twice today. Not going to do it this game, though, but I'm sure we'll see them hold on to that top 3 spot.
Thank you so much, Vivid. I was wondering how they were consistently one of the teams on top of Rift Island.
What's happening here, though? Ritual's down. He gets fully eliminated now. And after all that, Reed's left by himself here. Things have gone south. This is what Reed's known for best, though. These one-on-one situations, he does not choke these.
Yeah,
let's see it.
One-on-one, especially with Aviv no longer there. But they have to be careful. There's still one more team near Rift Island and so many more just on top or outside of it. They could third party as Reed. He knows exactly what he needs to do here. Buy this time, get his heals. The splashes are the most important one, so that way he has the potential to bring Ritual back. And he has multiple opportunities to do that. There is a van exactly right there, but there's also launch pads and other reboot vans in the distance if he wants to try to disengage and find somewhere else.
That's crazy that he could have actually committed right there and been okay, but Ree ends up canceling it against his better judgment. Aviv says, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to go and aim for the sky. I think I get some more points here. Look at this readjustment. Opens up a wider platform as well. This is very, very interesting. I love this play right now. And it works! It works! He catches him! No! Not like this.
Uses the cheese to catch the mouse in the
Oh,
maze.
man.
He knows now it's his opportunity to drop onto Reet. And the thing about this is even though he just popped the slurp, eventually Ritual is going to go down and that Siphon is going to come in, giving him more HP. So he has the luxury of a free 50, either HP and shield, depending on what happens here between him and Reet. As the third parties begin to come in, there goes the first tag. Not going to scare Aviv off just yet. He knows the potential is there as he continues to backtrack in his step, doing a little bit of a moonwalk, and he gets shut down. That was a huge shutdown by Reet. Now the thing is, though, Ritual's reboot card is at the bottom of Rift Island, so he's asking to do some traveling if he does want to get him back.
I was thinking it's probably over with that, but we'll have to find out right now. As Reet goes to grab the card, we'll be able to see how this all kicked off. It was actually Skittles who gets traded out first there. Ritual damaged in the process. And a little bit of greed comes into play as Aviv fights off. Yup, look at that. That's why you don't stand in enemy boxes with walls, but in the end, it is Reet who comes out on top. Could have ended right there for him, though. That was a disgusting shot from Aviv. Well played.
Took him down twice, essentially. Aviv taking down Ritual. Acorn still down, cold.
I would say, though, the clip of the moment, the clip of the day so
He
far,
captured him.
to Aviv, no doubt. Like, that was crazy.
I haven't seen that in a while. When that kind of
Smart,
change
yeah.
happened, I've seen a lot of teams begin to do that early on. I hadn't seen it in a long time, I think because you don't want to expend the mats to do so. But he already had the elevation. All he did was build the floor out wide. He really made it look easy. You can already see what Reet is planning, has in the back of his mind. Pop the med kit, get my teammate back, but Okus is probably doing the same thing. We saw him without Bucky earlier on in the game. Basically now, now or never. And let me tell you, he told Reet never, ever.
That was crazy. Okus with a massive shot right there.
Okay, I'm liking this now. I'm liking it. I just became a fan of Okus right there.
That's a 189, by the way. And he's still 10 below, so
He had the heavy headshots then if it's
huge
189.
tag.
501 above the damage threshold, position at the edge of zone. And they don't have far to rotate before they find themselves in the next. So positives on top of positives for NPen and Byla. And you can see their loadout as well, and it matches the position that they're in.
Just to give you guys the visual of the leaderboard, where we are after 6 games of Fortnite. Of course, this one's still ongoing. We have Aegis and Kanata in the lead by far. If the name is in color, they are still alive. And you can see our third place Ritual and Reet have been crossed out. Cold now added to that list there. 2 of the top 5 teams that have fallen.
If we're not setting up for a Game 12 Day 2 race to the top 10, I'm gonna be excited if that one does come to fruition.
It's already happening.
Imagine 5 teams on the bubble, 10 teams just outside. Maybe I'll go for maybe 20-point differential between all of them. I'll take it. I'll take that for our final game. Only time will tell if it'll come to fruition. Is Bolton Thork, a team that's positioned above everybody else and has experience in lobbies like these. They already have the Axe of Champions and that global championship spot secured. Kind of tied with 7th place, Yamzo Rise. Similar point threshold for both of the two.
Buga's still running away with it. He finds himself another elimination. This is a great game for him.
That's how you pick up the pace. That's how you show that you can adapt on the fly. You can continuously be a flexible style player. And I feel like this has been their loadout almost all season long. Threats has that breacher, that heavy breacher to break and kind of destroy a lot of the builds, but Buga has the Havoc. And they kind of use that in tandem to kind of take down the rest of the lobby. We've already found some success once today.
Cool part about Buga and Threats is they've been playing casually with one another for years, actually.
Yeah.
Both very much OGs of the Fortnite space. You can see this is how they picked up Source right there. Called it out. It's just tags in the distance, burning through builds. All textbook. Very textbook.
Epic's gonna take down Clarity in the feed, so that's another elimination as Epic Whale and Clicks are continuing to try to find their stride. Same for Yamzo and Rise. A little bit of a hiccup in their game plan. but with history on their side, being a day number 2 team, they definitely have the potential to pop off and kind of try to take back what they thought was theirs to start the season, especially with how well they've been performing. Clicks and Epic Whale boxing up, gaining a little bit of elevation nearby. Cooper and Miro box to box near Yamzo and Rise. So a lot of these teams, as the lobby pushing forward, getting so congested against one another.
I will say, all in all, Yamzo and Rise being a day 2 team is very comfortable right now.
Yeah.
Just overall, 7th place here, pretty good. A big pop off tomorrow, a couple other flops from high placing squads, and all of a sudden they're in. Hold up, Epic Whale and Clicks have a lot more to work with. This is a team that's on the bottom of the totem pole so far, has been struggling on the day here to find their footing. I mean, the loot's looking great. It's just getting past this point here.
Ooh, big shot can be fired. Epic Whale's doing what he can to fight back. That way, kind of pushes that team back, that we can survive just a little bit more. Going up a layer as well. He knows this Mega City like the back of his hands. Ever since it became a thing, he claimed it as his own. Clicks is going to join him over on this side of things. Placement point setting in as well as we get into our top 20. 19 as another player and team is going to get dropped. Peterbot taking down Zypha. And just as Clicks and Epic Whale find that safety in Mega City, it's pulling them right back on out.
It's going to be a tough one, but a lot of teams are going to have a chance here to at least work on some material if they were struggling. Pick up some additional left behinds. Cooper and Miro find another one there. There it is. Jumping their way on up inside the top 10. Yamzo and Rise have a little bit of room to work with as well. Remember, 2 of the top 5 teams have already been taken out, so this gives a chance for Yamzo and Rise to go ahead and get right inside that top 5 for a day 2 finish. They're above the threshold right now. They have nothing to worry about. Meanwhile, Parson Bach can play for high ground once again here. NA East, again, lacks that identity of high ground teams. So if you're really feeling it, you just go for it. And you're probably not going to have a hard time claiming it.
Bach and Pars, they've been ones to kind of at least make a threat for it game after game. The consistency kings show up big here yet again. Even though it's top 17, I think their worst placement on the day is that 12th place in that last game. Some would take that as their own. Booga feeling the stress, feeling the troubles. Him and Threat separated. Threat's getting dropped all together. They're being forced to try to survive, and Booga's now feeling the pressure of the world on his shoulders to try to keep this placement as consistent as possible. That way they don't fall outside of that bubble in the last game of the day.
Pretty crazy. You don't see Booga hesitate very often, but he thought twice about popping the Slurp Juice right there. But he said, you know what? I need all the HP I can get here. Doesn't even opt in for the minis. Just gets it ticking. Seems like it works out here. 260 builds left. Meanwhile, up top, Kanata, Agers continue to rack up more. Ending runs, ending plays. Kanata's down, but Agers still in it. Siphon kicks through. He's all right.
Splash is being used. Now he can run from point A to point B. On the other side of the box, they're still trying to break in. That's G-Money. G-Money needs this elimination. He goes and strikes. Agers does it again. Typical Ager things at this point. High ground has been tossed, turned upside down. Vylon and Pen are now the keys at the top of the mountain. A huge haymaker thrown by Booga as he takes down Peterbot. And back to back at that, Pars gets dropped once at the top of the mountain. He is now down back to the lobby as Booga's setting up for a big game.
Nah, Booga's going crazy. He actually just picked up 2 eliminations, Larson and his duo, and then more on the way to the zone. And now look at this, finds himself another one on the edge. It's just keeping him alive here, feasting on Epic Whale Siphon, and he falls inside the top 10. What a performance there. Meanwhile, Yamzo still going 2 on the low. Cooper's gonna go in and find him here, but Rise is still in the game. It's not over yet. The trades go back and forth. It's sloppy down here, but Sphinx and Pollo are here, and they're just the disruptors of the lobby as they are rambling their ways into the top 10. For top 5 position, actually, screw that. It's now a 2-on-2 situation.
Sphinx is already down, 2v1. Pollo's trying to break him into the palm of the hands. A huge shot on the N-Pen, but that was the sacrifice. He spun the shot and kind of dealed an even bigger one back to take the game. A sneaky play to start the day in game 1 that we saw when he took down Booga to end the day, game 6 Victory Royale winner.
And a clean way to do it here. Take a look from the other perspectives of N-Pen and Byla. All the exchanges, the trades, the back and forths. N-Pen coming out of the woodworks, literally finally finding his stride. And of course, Elite Byla, one of those recent signings to Team Elite. You love to see the duo really coming together right now, but Man, I've been a big fan of NPen, right? You see the content pieces for years now. And he's putting in the work here on the new young guns. Congratulations to Byla and NPen who take game number 6.
Yeah, and you know who else likes NPen, has a huge smile on his face? SBG.
Oh, yeah.
Loves to see NPen perform at a high level, but we need to see the results for day 1 so these teams can prepare going into day 2 for one last time for real this time. Zeke, break it down.
Big shout outs to, of course, Monster D-Face and Jacob PR for an amazing 6 games. But speaking of amazing, as this guy right here, SPG, decided to talk about them, NPen and Byla get themselves a victory royale in grand finals. A massive one for them as well, because again, as SPG kind of detailed for us last game, this is a duo that wants to make the globals, and they're looking for that FNCS title.
And really, we could have seen this during qualifiers if they weren't contested, because they're just doing what they've done for so long. Both of these two are veterans in the space, understand how to play this game, and now they finally have some freedom to play in grand finals. And what a perfect time to be peaking this season. NPen and Byla coming out of nowhere, honestly exceeding my expectations. So shout out to you two. Let's keep it up. We have a whole nother day to play though.
I love that it looked like there was a pool party going on the lower ground there, whereas NPen and Byla were the lifeguards, just kind of watching everyone, being able to kind of get an eagle's eye. And obviously that definitely came out as an advantage for them, grabbing that VR.
That's crazy too against Iamzo and Rise. You know, I like that ability. Hey, you guys are playing? Nope, we would like to walk away with the VR. Okay, let's take a look at our standings. Remember, we have another 6 games coming up tomorrow, so it doesn't stop here. But remember, it's all about momentum. We look at the top, Agers and Kanata. Take a look at this lead. They've held just around a 100-point lead for a few games now, and this is a fantastic start to be in going into day number 2.
Yeah, our Agers and Kanata doing a great job. Iamzo and Rise, we didn't really know how they were doing kind of in the last few games. They seem to be dwindling down a little bit, but able to hold themselves in that 5th place spot. And I think that they probably feel a little good because Iamzo and Rise were able actually to take down Agers in the final moments in that game there. Of course, Bugha and Threat also holding their spot in 2nd place. But hey, your team doing a good job in 3rd.
Yeah, and we see that the elimination lead for Agers and Kanata was what was putting them so far ahead of everybody else. They were just slaying out, and nobody was having those consistent games like they were. Making endgame, if you make endgame and you play until 11th zone, you're getting at least 3 eliminations, and that's what these guys were doing every single game. Now we're seeing that start to dwindle. I mean, it's almost 100 points, so dwindle by, that's a massive game for these guys to be ahead. But nonetheless, we see a lot of the teams that have qualified throughout this year now starting to make their mark on this grand finals.
Yeah, without a doubt, obviously, we got Cooper and Miro here, Pollo and Sphinx as well. But I do want to talk about Baka and Pars. I feel like for the last 3 games now, we've seen them attempt to take height, succeed, but then not be able to transition that into a 11th, 12th hold on height. But obviously, that doesn't seem to be affecting them too much.
No, and I was talking to their coach Captor before grand finals, and what he told me is these guys need to learn